Lying face pulls.
Oh, Sam, not my face pulls. What's up, guys? Jeff Cavaliere, AthleanX.com. What you see behind me is a bunch of different training and nutrition advice from none other than Sam Sulek that today I'm going to review. Now, if you don't know who Sam is, he's kind of taken the internet by storm. And not just that, some have even called him the next Arnold of bodybuilding. Well,
Wow,
today
what a compliment. By the way, Jeff, this list was pretty freaking sweet.
Hey, listen, Sam, I love you and everything, but I got to do the video.
All right, that's fine. I'm gonna get a freaky looking pump.
Like I was saying, today I'm going to talk about what Sam thinks and say what Oh, jeez.
Were you calling the next Arnold of bodybuilding? I'm still Arnold.
Are you done playing?
What are you talking about?
All right, can I do the video, please?
Sure, hasta la vista, baby.
Let's just get into the video. But before we do, I think it's important to talk about my ranking system because applying worst to any individual is not the way I like to roll. In other words, I like to keep things positive. But what I will do is break down the things that I think that Sam is doing that may only be good for Sam. Because even with the assistance I think he's taking right now, it does set up a scenario where it may not work for everyone who's following him. Look, just because you attend a basketball camp run by Michael Jordan doesn't mean you're going to be playing like Michael Jordan. I'm going to do the legwork for you here and tell you the things that work only for Sam in red, or the things that would work for only advanced level bodybuilders in blue,
Jesse Lako.
and of course the things that would work for everybody, and those are going to be in green. So with that said, let's hear what Sam has to say.
As long as you hit every muscle group about twice a week, I'd say that's pretty much the ballpark you want to do. You know, no point overcomplicating it. It's like, if you go hard, you'll get the same results from doing push-pull legs or Arnold split. I think it gets a little weird if you're going full body. I'm not inclined to want to do a full body workout, apart from maybe just for general athleticism and staying active. In a bodybuilding context, you know, I want to go in here and just thrash specific muscles on a specific day.
And while Sam may not prefer a total body training split for building his body, I certainly can vouch for the effectiveness of total body training, especially in the realm of athletics, which is different than the angle that Sam is looking at strictly from bodybuilding. Because if you know how to choose your exercises and focus more on the compound lifts, you're going to get the benefits of muscle growth, albeit maybe with a little less of the isolation work that Sam prefers. And as far as having to train every muscle group twice per week, I'm not really fully on board with that either, because you can take an old-fashioned bro split with one muscle group a day and still get the volume in because you can train the muscle on another training day in an auxiliary way. So if I hit my triceps on Monday, I can come back on chest day, do some bench press, and certainly train my triceps. But overall, knowing that intensity is the main driver of the results that Sam's looking for, I have to rule this one good for everyone and break out the green on this first piece of advice.
You know, it's not like I don't like being in the gym, but I want to make my workout as efficient as possible. So there's no need to be in here for more than like 15 sets for a single muscle group. That's for sure.
And I will say that I think Sam's pretty spot on here as well, though if you are doing a one-off workout every now and then with higher than 15 sets, or especially when you apply it to a muscle group that has multiple heads that benefit from hitting them from different angles, you're not going to turn into a whining little puddle of rhabdomyolysis. But on the whole, I do find it refreshing when a bodybuilder recommends fewer sets rather than more. Although I do think his number might be a little bit high, because rather than having 15 sets per session and then training twice a week, I'd rather see it be 15 sets total for that muscle group in that training week. As a matter of fact, you don't have to worry about losing gains because we've shown here on this channel that even 1 to 2 incredibly high intensity sets can still be enough to produce significant muscle gains. But that being said, I like the spirit of where he's going here. Less is more, and for that, everyone can benefit. So once again, on this piece of advice, we go with the green marker.
I'm not going to do this same weight again. For the next set, I'll probably take the 25 off. Maybe I'll take the 45 off, right? I'm sufficiently warm. I want to start heavy and work my way down as I get weaker, if you follow my logic.
I follow your logic, Sam, and what you're talking about most likely is something called reverse pyramids, where as you perform your first set with your heaviest weight and your lowest reps, you then start to fatigue. So your subsequent sets are going to have lighter weight, but you're going to compensate by increasing the reps that you do. And we've all seen Sam grind out rep after rep after rep, and even partial rep after partial rep, which we'll get to as he works his way through those subsequent sets. Now, I will say I'm not going to give this one an every one designation, because I think this is more appropriate for the more advanced lifter. Why? because the beginner doesn't necessarily arrive to the gym or reach a state of readiness as fast as somebody who has more experience. You might find that attacking that first set with your heaviest weight doesn't really give you a chance to find that mind-muscle connection you need to get the most out of that set. Sometimes the beginners have to kind of warm their way up, even beyond their warm-up, through their first 1 or 2 working sets before it really starts to groove and click. If that's you, then definitely you're not going to want to do this. You're going to want to start with the lighter weight and work your way up to the heaviest. But again, pretty good advice, just not good for every single person.
Lingo.
And for that, it's going to get good for the advanced.
I make this analogy all the time. The high school football kid who goes into the gym and just tries to go fucking bananas on biceps, he's probably going to build a bigger set of arms than the kind of dorky kid doing low intensity, even though that kid may be doing his reps perfectly, with perfect form, perfect execution. You know, intensity is going to outweigh effectiveness. But, well, you know what I'm trying to say there. So make sure you have the intensity down and then improve the effectiveness over time, or vice versa. It's each of those things are kind of playing off of each other. But for the most part, you're never going to go wrong going hard on a set. I can say that with 100% belief.
I believe you too. And where we really share the same belief is really in the fact that if you want to see results, at some point, you're going to have to combine efficiency and effectiveness on a movement with the ability to drive intensity into the movement that you're doing. And there is no real preferred direction here. I mean, Sam seems to think it's better to sort of throw the weights around and get bigger first and then worry about getting more perfect later. I would say as a physical therapist, I'm going to veer a little bit on the other side, because I think that you can certainly hurt yourself if you're just heaving weights around. If you learn instead the proper form on an exercise, you're not only going to learn how to better recruit the muscles you're actually trying to grow in the first place, but you're actually able to recognize where you might be able to cheat that exercise more effectively and safer down the line. Now, don't get me wrong, it doesn't have to be a long on-ramp to get to that point of applying intensity. If you get the exercise even after the first time you do it, then start applying the intensity right away. Don't sit there and wait for a long period of time just because you think you have to. That being said, in the spirit of agreeing on the recipe for success being intensity and form or effectiveness, I got to break out the green once again and say that for intensity, Sam's got it right.
You know, don't be afraid of doing some fucking partials, man. If I ended that set just because I couldn't get all the way up to the top and I can only get like this high, dude, that just doesn't compute in my noggin.
Now, this one's one that Sam has taken a little bit of heat for, because a lot of people see him train through a lot of use of shortened reps and range of motion, and they think, oh, that's just bad form. I actually agree with Sam here wholeheartedly. I believe that you can intensify a set greatly by utilizing partial reps if you perform them as extenders of the set and not the set itself. And yeah, it looks like sometimes when Sam performs his sets that he immediately goes into those shortened range of motion reps. And I think that you're compromising some of the gains you can get there, both in strength and size, because I think you should first explore full range of motion on any exercise you're performing. But at that point that you've reached fatigue, not dipping into those shorter repetitions could be costing you a lot of gains. You see, because even a half a rep or a quarter rep or an eighth of a rep is driving additional tension into that muscle, providing yet another stimulus for more growth. And if the requirement was a full range of motion repetition or nothing, then I'm telling you, you're leaving a lot of extra tension on the table. Now, while this would work for everybody, it's not going to get the green endorsement, because I don't believe it's necessary for the beginner to have to train through partial range of motion. Do your straight sets, you will get the gains. You build off of this as you become more advanced, and for that reason, we're going to go with the designation of blue for partial reps.
The longer that you lift, that level of exertion that you're able to reach on a set-by-set basis, it will gradually increase. But I think a lot of people get stuck in a state of just doing lifts with the same intensity that they've been doing for months or years before. So no wonder the majority of people in the gym, after their initial phase of, initial progress, I think they just fucking stagnate because they're not pushing themselves as hard as they need to.
And I couldn't agree more wholeheartedly, because strength training and weightlifting is about building up a tolerance to what you did yesterday and realizing that there's a resilience to what you're going to do tomorrow. So thinking that what got you here is going to keep you here if you keep doing it is not enough, especially when you consider the fact that as you age, you're going to start to go on the decline and lose some muscle. You have to bring more than what you did yesterday, and the sooner you realize that, the sooner you will break through those plateaus. Yes, you can make those early gains, and whether or not you continue to make them over a lifetime is highly determined by your realization that effort's going to have to go up in order to keep you there. This is good for everybody, guys. Everyone should and could benefit from realizing it, and it's going to get a big green mark for it.
I always find it kind of weird if people are working multiple muscle groups in the same movement. Is it the Arnold press? No, that's not it. I don't see this too often, but when I do, I notice. Like somebody's sitting on a bench and they do a curl up into a shoulder press. That's very functional. But if you want big biceps or big shoulders, I think you should just hit them each on their own.
Now, first of all, I think it's important to clarify that I don't think that Sam is talking about compound movements when he's saying muscle groups working together in the same exercise, because we know he does a lot of compound lifts like bench press and squats in his workouts. But what he is talking about are multiple muscle groups that kind of compete with each other. In other words, a posterior chain, anterior chain, or a pull and a push. But I disagree. Because again, training athletes, we know the value, the great value of performing something like a clean and press, a pull into a push, in terms of building not only muscle, but strength, power, explosiveness, athleticism, beyond just the realm of bodybuilding. And again, even if you were bodybuilding, these high velocity type 2 dominant movements are gonna add muscle to your body. So with that said, I don't believe that functional training as defined by Sam is necessarily a bad thing, so I'm gonna have to break out my red marker for the first time and say, this is a Sam only thought.
I'm gonna use fucking straps. I'm not trying to work anything but my lats or my traps or, teres major, rhomboids, whatever, everything that's going on back there. So I don't want to be spending energy gripping onto all these handles with my forearms. I want to strap in so I can really just focus on pulling with my scapula.
It's a good thing I didn't put this away too quickly. Look, while I'm not against the use of straps, I am against the use of rushing to use straps when you haven't first adequately given yourself a chance to build up your grip strength. You see, I know that Sam probably by this point has a very strong grip, and utilizing straps to do exactly what he's trying to accomplish here and put more of the work directly into the muscles he's trying to grow, by all means, that's not a problem. But I think a lot of us give up on our grip too soon. I mean, even if you look at Jesse and his progression to a 560-pound deadlift, he really had a hard time holding on to the bar even at 225 pounds. The urge was there to maybe rush to straps, but the desire to keep him away from them was high as well, and he didn't use them. So now he's actually do that very same 560 pounds with no straps at all. Grip strength can improve immensely if you give it a chance. I gotta give that designation of the red marker once again to this piece of advice.
Dude, you just wrote on the fucking board.
Oh shit.
You got to be able to have the presence of mind to know, like, okay, I don't really want to do this movement. This feels off. It just doesn't feel right. I'm going to move on to something else.
And this is actually somewhere where I have a great deal of respect for Sam and what he does, because he certainly will just do a single set and then bail, even if that was part of his workout, because it just wasn't feeling right. Or he might stay on a single exercise because it feels really good, and he'll make that his entire workout. I think a lot of us sometimes feel pressured to do exercises simply because we know they're supposed to be the best exercises for us to do. But what about when they don't really fit what we're trying to do? I wish I learned my lesson a lot earlier, because I banged away at squats with really incredibly flat feet that just ruined my knees at a young age. It wasn't until I found Bulgarian split squats that I found some salvation. I just wish I found it sooner. While this is something I wish every one of us could aspire to, we all just don't have the experience necessary to know exactly how it's supposed to feel. And this filler approach would not only work better for the advanced lifters, but the guys who are just starting out would probably benefit more from just following a plan. I'm gonna give it blue right here for the advanced.
It gets a little bit weird because with legs I do it backwards. I'll do hamstrings first and then quads, but that kind of serves a different purpose, because when I do hamstrings first, they get a lot of blood flow in my knees. I just kind of feel better when I move on to, leg extensions and presses and whatnot.
Now I'm gonna have to go red again here, but I'm not gonna red on the board. And also, it's not for bad reasons, because I agree with what Sam's doing here. It just seems to be a very specific piece of advice that works for him. Are we really gonna argue that it's not working for him? And I encourage you to try to find the same things that work for you. Maybe doing hamstring work before quads is going to make your knees feel better. And if it does, then it's absolutely the sequence you should go in, despite what the normal sequence would be. Remember, the only thing that's normal is the thing that feels normal to you. But again, because it's unique for Sam, I'm going to give it the For Sam designation and give it the red circle as a piece of advice that may be good for him, but also could be beneficial to a lot of you as well.
lying face pulls. Doing face pulls standing up, you're kind of like leaning over. Every time you do it, you're kind of moving your body. You know, it's just not ideal. I don't love it. You want to stabilize all the muscles except for the ones you're trying to target.
Oh, Sam, not my beloved face pulls. Where's my red marker? So listen, I have to say that my heart sang when I saw Sam Sulek performing face pulls of any variation, because I tell you how important the exercise is, and it's not just as a physical therapist, it can be a builder of your entire upper back and posterior chain, but you have to understand it's not meant to be a heavy exercise. It fits in perfectly as a corrective exercise that pays big dividends in more than just the growth of your rear delts. If you perform the exercise properly, which by the way, I have a video that shows you exactly how to do that, you're gonna see that performing it standing can be done perfectly well without compromise. The fact that Sam performs the exercise with a weight that's too heavy is actually preventing him from getting the benefits that he's seeking in the first place, because he doesn't get the elbow back behind his body into extension. And the stability that he's seeking by laying down isn't really there either, because that heavy weight stack is actually gonna try to pull him up off of the bench in much the same way that your body might sway when you're standing, but not if, again, you use an appropriate weight that allows the muscles you're trying to target to do the job unaffected by momentum. If you're looking for a good rear delt builder that you can actually use heavier weights on without compromise, I wish you'd perform maybe a dumbbell high pull. But again, I'm not picking on Sam. I'm just going to say here that while I'm happy he's doing the face pull, I'm not happy about this variation. So it's going to get a Sam only designation. I prefer you do my version instead.
I'm gonna do some single arm total pull downs. And this kind of feels nice. It's like, for one thing, you get to focus on squeezing one lat at a time, unlike normal pull downs. But with this whole pulley system, you don't build up so much momentum. Like if you've done a dumbbell curl versus like a cable curl, you kind of get what I'm talking about. So it's just kind of easier to squeeze. That's pretty much the only point I'm getting at.
And just like the face pulls, the one arm lat pull down is another exercise that makes my heart sing. I've been preaching this exercise for at least 10 or 12 years. I think it's one of the most effective ways to train your lats, and I actually ranked it as such. When you're pulling one arm at a time, it gives you a chance to get a more focused contraction, to actually experience a full lat stretch and a good peak contraction at the bottom of the exercise. If I was going to nitpick, I wish that Sam would get up on his feet, but I will say that it's just a great lat builder that's underappreciated when it comes to all the variations that we can do of lat pull downs. For that reason, everyone should be encouraged to try it, and that means it's going to get the everyone designation and a good piece of advice from Sam.
If you're eating in a surplus and the scale is going up, you got one aspect of it right. But if the scale is going up because you're just putting on loads and loads of fat, then you may need to trim the surplus a little bit. Well, a little bit. You know, I'm all for putting on some poundage, but you want it to be quality weight, right? Like, you kind of want to ride the line of eating enough food that you're going to gain as much muscle as possible in the bulk, but not eating so much that all those extra calories are spilling over into just excess body fat.
Now, while the very topic of bulking and cutting is just something that's not really in my vocabulary, I will recognize that how Sam is advocating you do it here is actually pretty simple and actually accurate. Because when you want to bulk, if you want to do it faster, you will try to be in some sort of a surplus. And the more surplus you're in, the faster you'll bulk. But at what expense? Because I am never one to advocate going on a dirty bulk to the point where you're just adding lots of fat, because ultimately when you have to strip off that fat in order to look the way that you want to, you're going to find that it might be more difficult than you bargained for. And a lot of people who enter the bulk never come out of it. But the same note, if you have more time, a smaller surplus with a focus on getting higher protein intake is going to get you to where you want to be. But the fact that there's a respect for not just bulking at any expense, I got to say, if you're going to bulk, it's the everyman's advice that we all could benefit from here from Sam.
So main point that I'm really trying to fucking, drive into you, the viewer, is if you're trying to lose body fat, the only thing that's stopping you is whether or not you can eat in a calorie deficit. And I don't care what food you eat, you just have to be in a deficit to burn body fat.
And while I agree wholeheartedly with the science behind what Sam is saying here, I don't necessarily agree with how he's going about applying that science. Yes, creating fat loss will always require a caloric deficit. Eating whatever the hell you want to create that deficit, doesn't really sit well with me, because I value the quality of your nutrition far beyond its impact on your waistline. In other words, if you achieve a 500-calorie deficit in a day, but get there by eating nothing more than pork fried rice and Coca-Cola, have you done the best you can nutritionally for your body, especially if you apply that to a long-term or big picture? The answer is no, and you know that. So I'd rather have you grasp the concept of high quality, high nutrient density foods at an early stage, so that while you do start to create your deficits, you're not sacrificing the overall big picture in terms of the nutrition you provide your body. So I hate to end on a sour note, but I'm going to say that this advice on calorie deficit is for Sam only and should stay that way.
So what do you think? You want to hit Five Guys or hit some buys and get a real freaky pump?
Who says that we have to pick? Why not hit the buys and then Five Guys burgers and fries?
Sounds like a plan. Absolute freaking awesome plan.
I love that idea.
So in short, I like Sam a lot. Who wouldn't? That being said, there's a lot of things that Sam's doing that might only work for him, and there's a lot of other things that might work for everybody. Take what benefits you. That being said, don't take everything that Sam's doing. I made a video where I have some concerns about everything he might be doing. I want you to check it out here. If you like these ranked videos, just like I did Zac Efron years ago or Amir Khan, you can leave your comments below. Let me know who you want me to cover next. If you haven't done so, click subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss a video from this channel. We have full programs available at athleanx.com and supplements. See you soon.